My name's Jim. It's Hefe, man.
Gracias. 1-800-283-101.5 is our phone number. All right, we mentioned this several times, and hopefully you heard this earlier, especially if you're a teacher, but we want phone calls from anybody and everybody. But if you are a teacher in particular, I would assume that PARCC testing that is coming up in March and again in May, and a lot of people have a problem with this, I would assume that teachers would have a much better understanding of how to explain why this is good or bad.
Isn't it just another standardized test to measure progress?
But I don't... Okay, everything I've heard about PARCC, which stands for Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers, and they're giving this to, as young as third graders, everything I've heard about it, yes, it is another standardized test, but the way that it's being put together seems to almost set all the students up for failure.
Isn't it based on Common Core?
Well, it is. Yes. Totally based on Common Core.
Okay, that exhausted my knowledge of the thing.
And, well, see, I know, and one of the reasons I was hesitant to talk about this up until now is I get this overwhelming sense that until it hits and until the stories start coming home from schools with everybody's kids in March and then again in May, I think that's when people are going to get really riled up about this. But there was a big hearing about this in Trenton a couple of weeks ago, and if you guys remember this, so many people turned out, teachers, students themselves, parents turned out, mostly in opposition to these PARCC standardized tests being put in our schools, that they had to open up 4 separate conference rooms just to handle the overflow. That's how unpopular this thing is. And it's going to be entirely online. It is not like the NJ Asks that you're probably used to. If teachers could please give us a call at 1-800-283-101.5 and try to give examples of in what ways this thing is different. I know that they do some things with this test that, and this is getting into the minutia of it, but for example, for the math portion, my understanding is nothing is ever allowed to be handwritten. It's entirely online, but even your calculations, your work, all of it has to be entirely online. Not necessarily a bad thing for some day, but if you have protractors, if you have rulers, this kind of thing, the students, even in the very, very young grades, they have to click up on it, drag it, manipulate it on screen, all kinds of gyrations that you're having to make with these little online measuring tools. It's not how they have been learning. It's not the way schools have been teaching up until now. And you feel the most sorry for the students who are growing up first in one world for the first 4 or 5 years of their education. Now all of a sudden, because PARCC is here and a reality, now all of a sudden they're not allowed to touch a piece of paper, they're not allowed to touch an actual ruler, everything has to be manipulated on screen. And a lot of the teachers that I know, and this is not just because my fiancé is a teacher, this started even with my son's teacher from the old district that he was in. A lot of teachers I know are saying that this thing is going to be an absolute nightmare. Now, you could make the argument, this is because teacher evaluations are in part based on this, but I really don't believe it's a self-serving opinion. Whatever teachers feel about NJ Ask, it's nothing compared to what they feel about this. It seems that the company that is, and it's a for-profit company, Pearson, that puts this thing out, and they have been under the microscope as having done a lot of shady things. It just seems like this is almost like an experiment. And I honestly feel that a company like this has so much to gain by failing everybody in the first few years, because hey, guess what? Now you can buy all the brand new textbooks that we're going to sell you, and it seems like there is a built-in incentive for them to fail everybody. And the last thing I'll say about it, and then I'll turn it over to anybody who wants to call in about this. I was talking to a teacher who said they were going over sample questions of this. And this is for the elementary levels, okay? And these are very competent teachers. The way things are worded and phrased in very funky, quirky ways in this test, even teachers who are good, solid teachers, these are not nitwits, were having difficulty understanding exactly what PARCC was even asking of the students. Now, you hand that same thing to a student who is an 8-year-old kid, a lot of teachers are saying the anxiety is going to be through the roof among students. So that about exhausts my knowledge. That's why we want to find out from you guys. Is this a good or bad thing, what's coming? 1-800-283-101.5.
Melissa in South Brunswick, you're on New Jersey, 101.5.
Hi, thank you so much for hosting this conversation. So I spoke on January 7th at the State Board of Education meeting, and I spoke on the negative impact that this is having on future teachers.
Are you a teacher yourself?
No, I'm 19 and I'm in a teacher ed program at the College of New Jersey.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and what do you know about it?
So I'm really fearful of what my classroom is going to look like in 5 years or 2 years, or even my field placement classroom that I'm going to be working in this next semester, because the PARCC testing is happening during my time in the schools. And I'm scared of being part of a system that harms children. And
now that's what we want to know, because we're outsiders. So, right, why is PARCC bad for children and, as you say, harms children?
Well, this is, first of all, it's really taking away teachers' abilities to speak out on what they know is best regarding child development and what's best for students. I mean, we're seeing a loss in play and exploration and creativity in these younger grades because kids are having their recess taken away in some places because of test preparation, and teacher autonomy is being taken away. So teachers can't make decisions that are best for their students using their professional judgment because they have to go off of this scripted curriculum that forces our teachers to be like robots and no longer really a part of the classroom. And
now, is that the general complaint that we always hear about core curriculum, or is it even more specific because of what is in this PARCC?
The PARCC and the Common Core cannot be separated. They're one and the same. In that Common Core and PARCC and the new teacher evaluation system were all implemented at one time to bombard the system. Because this whole conversation is bigger than PARCC. This is a movement to privatize education and really create a two-tiered system of charters and private schools that cater to the privileged and wealthy, but that leaves minority and lower income students in the crumbling public schools, because these tests are used to show that students and teachers are failing, and these tests are used so that privatizers can then sell the false tale of failure. Public schools are closed, starved of resources, again labeled failures, and then closed and converted to charters. It's a privatization scheme.
And I know everybody hearing Melissa say that right now probably thinks, well, that's just because she has an agenda. But everything I've heard elsewhere, I don't know if I would have said it the same way as her, but I do agree that this particular PARCC testing, it does seem almost designed to fail everybody just because there is some sort of end game of revamping the entire system.
All right, Melissa, thanks for calling New Jersey 101.5. It's 518. Here's New Jersey Fast Traffic.
We still have that problem on the New Jersey Turnpike.